Hey everyone, it's Sensei Victoria Whitfield here, your journey partner in business, welcoming you back to episode 159 of the Journeypreneur Podcast. This is your source for channeled holistic stress management techniques, guidance, inspiration, and motivation to stay on your path to rapid financial ascension and massive impact as a conscious entrepreneur. So the title of this podcast episode is DIY versus COI. Okay, so I was inspired to speak on the podcast about this episode because I was in a mastermind, a wonderful high-level mastermind with one of my clients, the amazing Wanda Turini over at EcoFiles. She's an incredible entrepreneur. Shout outs to you, Wanda. And one of the questions that she asked us was, what do you feel is keeping you from taking the actions necessary to reach your next level, right? What is the next step that you're supposed to take, but you're not, or you're resistant to? And for me, I was the one who was in the hot seat. And whenever I'm in the hot seat, I tend to offer whatever I can from my own perspective, and sometimes my own perspective is like kind of really out of the box. And I don't know why no one expected me to say this, but for me, my next level I know is around visibility and multiplying myself. And the vision that I have around executing on that next level looks like my hands on the keyboard and I'm taking my hands away. So my hands are on the keyboard in the vision of looks like my laptop, right? My MacBook or whatever it is. And then I take my hands away. And there is this distinct sensation of grief. And so that is what I shared with the group. And now these are all very high achieving, incredible business owners who are very tactical and technical minded. And I'm here talking about, the one thing that's keeping me back is processing my grief around not doing it all. Yeah. And so that kind of threw everyone for a loop, where they were a bit surprised, but it took the conversation in a different direction that was, rather than being tactical, it ended up being more emotional and spiritual, which, obvi. If I'm going to enter the chat, this is going to come with me. And I'm so happy that we got to have such a powerful conversation around that. But I wanted to bring this conversation, let it spill over into the Journeypreneur Podcast here for you, because this is all about identity. And I know we've talked about this many times before, but just coming back to that conversation had at the mastermind, it was just day before last. And then also the conversations I'm having on Clubhouse as well. By the way, come find me on Clubhouse. Let's do a room, shall we? Yeah. But these conversations that we're having around identity and emotion, and how all of that is the fuel behind our productivity habits and behavioral patterns, it's huge. It's huge at high-level masterminds. And just like I was saying before, the future of coaching is spiritual. I'm telling you right now, quite literally, to people that I'm networking with who are incredibly successful entrepreneurs, right? Really powerful, influential leaders. When we really get to talking about it, it all comes down to emotion and identity. And so there's this emotion and identity within me. I'll put it on me, as usual. Right, I'll put it on me. There's this emotion and identity within me of the DIY, Victoria, the do-it-yourself, right? If you want it done right, You gotta do it yourself, Victoria. The hands on the keyboard, right? I'm stirring the pot. I'm building the thing. It's hands-on. I'm taking a hands-on approach and maintaining a hands-on relationship with whatever it is, the thing that I am creating or the project that I'm involved in order for so there's more. There's more that extends out of that kind of an identity of the DIY identity is in order for me to trust that something is getting done or is getting done right, then I have to have my hands on it. Underlining the word trust in that sentence. Let's underline that word trust, because the DIY identity is a trust paradigm or a distrust paradigm. So how in the world can I ensure that everything is A-okay and is all right and that I'm safe in the world? How do I trust that I'm being provided for and that the needle is being moved forward? Well, I did it myself. I saw it firsthand. Seeing is believing, right? I had my hands in it, and that made me feel safe because I was able to do the thing or be involved in the doing of the thing. And so with that, though, this lovely controlling stance can also come limitation because, all right, I have 2 hands, 10 fingers, right? I have 2 arms. I have 2 eyeballs, though I'm wearing glasses, so you could call me 4 eyes, right? Or you could even refer to that 3rd eye in the middle of my forehead. That's it's fairly active. I would have to say mine is fairly active, given what I do for a living. But, okay, so, and I have 24 hours in a day if I'm not sleeping during those hours, and if I'm not, going to the bathroom or eating or, doing something other than work, right? I have 7 days in a week. I have a limited amount of time, a limited amount of energy. I personally, if it's the DIY approach, I am applying a supremely limited resource to a potentially unlimited problem. And that is my business. Well, at least if I'm trying to be in business perpetually, right? If I'm trying to play an infinite game, if I take the DIY approach, the more that I do that, although it makes me feel, quote unquote, like I'm in control or I have the ability to trust more of what's going on here. Unfortunately, though, what can happen is that I am taking a finite resource and I'm applying it to an infinite issue, an infinite problem. And that is the perpetuation of my business or the expansion of my business, the perpetuation of my mission, the expansion of my mission. It's an infinite issue, an infinite opportunity, right? We could call it an infinite problem because if I'm putting out fires, it's a problem. Problemertunity. One of my spirit guides said it's a problem and an opportunity, right? So it's a problemertunity. Yeah. And so this is the thing. If everything has to be DIY in order to feel safe, then everything has to be limited in order to feel safe. And that for me, letting go of this definition of feeling safe, for me personally, is a grieving process, right? I've created a very profound paradigm of control, support, creative control, how do we say, making sure that everything feels in order, right, and in its right place. I've organized my life around that, and naturally letting go of that is a shift It's very different. It is an adjustment, to be specific. And so that adjustment, what I've noticed the more that I start processing that, is that, oh my gosh, the more that I've started processing that, is it feels like a process of grief where I'm letting go of something that has actually passed on. Right? It's gone. It's not here. It really isn't. It really isn't. Maybe I've, the more that I try and convince myself that it's the way that it used to be, that, I can contain the expansion of my business, or, the only way that this is going to work is if I do X, Y, and Z, or if I get in there and do the code on the website, or if I get in there and I do the things, right? If I get in there and I do the posting, or if I get in there and I do the, right? I'm at a point in the development of my business, in the development of myself, that is actually no longer true. It's no longer true. The expansion doesn't have to just depend upon me, and there are things at stake in what I'm doing that actually I'm not the best at. I don't know how to do this properly. And so in order to take things up to the next level, I've got to make sure that I can let go of that DIY identity, especially when we're talking about visibility and expanding that. Now, okay, 1 second. So I'm gonna make this deposit at the bank, and I'm gonna hop back on the podcast. Hold on just a sec. I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. Money put into the bank. Do you like that, by the way? I hope you like that. I want to share this thousands of dollars that I'm depositing into my bank with you energetically as you listen to this podcast. I hope you like that. I am wishing you tons and tons and tons of abundance, right? And I'm honored and grateful that I get to share this experience with you, depositing thousands and thousands of dollars into my business bank account personally while I'm literally recording this podcast in the car, right? And I'm doing this deliberately to wish abundance upon you, and just to also bring you into the stream of creation with me, right? I want to wish for both of us that we are only doing things like this that we genuinely get excited by. Is it bad? I don't think it's bad. I'm declaring it good, that I like depositing thousands and thousands of dollars into my business bank account because I am helping people change their lives, right? And helping them get better and better at serving others and moving their good mission and purpose forward in the world. I like that. I declare that is a good thing. Yeah. And I also want to declare that over you, that it is a good thing that you get to enjoy depositing thousands and thousands of dollars into your business bank account because you are making more good happen on the planet. You are serving and helping and providing for the community around you, right? And so the transition is releasing and processing grief around doing the things that actually aren't in alignment with my unique brilliance or my pleasure, right? Because you could just look at it as you got to do your unique brilliance quadrant, and that's how you determine what's important. My pleasure is also important. So although it could be said that, Victoria, you could just get a courier to take your checks to the bank and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. Or you could do a remote deposit or blah, blah, blah. No, you don't understand. You don't understand my pleasure. For me personally, doing this, it puts a smile ear to ear. I'm yes, this is so fat. I love that feeling. I love that feeling of depositing money. In fact, I'm going to do it twice in this podcast episode. Yeah. So for me, it's not just what's my unique brilliance, but also what's my pleasure. That is what I want to do myself. Absolutely. But processing grief around letting go of what has passed on and has passed out of my pleasure and has passed away from being my unique brilliance. Now I'm surrounded by incredible expert level people who their unique brilliance in doing the thing outshines mine any day out of the week. They could be tied up, falling asleep, and like in a coma, and still be light years ahead of me, better at doing, editing, or funnel builds or Facebook ads or something like they're like way farther ahead. It is okay. And it's time to grieve that. And so we were talking about that in the mastermind, with all of these like fabulous experts with Wanda, and all her rocket fuel tribe. I love them, by the way. Amazing work if you haven't checked her out yet. She'll be on the podcast, a little bit later, like in a later episode. But here's the thing. If I'm letting go of that DIY identity, what am I releasing that for, so that I can receive? Like what am I receiving as I let go of the DIY, the control, the I got it, right? The I did it type of identity. What am I receiving? What's coming in? What am I making room for? What new pattern of behavior, what new vision or identity is coming through? And to be honest with you, in this extreme moment, I have not seen what happens in that vision of my hands coming off of the keyboard. I have not seen what happens next after my hands come off the keyboard. All I can see right now is the hands coming off of the keyboard and feeling the grief. But as I went to hit record on this podcast to share this moment with you, this sacred moment, that is apparently also tied to money, because I'm making deposits and bank accounts and driving around and enjoying moving money and just seeing thousands of dollars, touching thousands of dollars as I talk to you. The thing that is coming in very well may be, instead of DIY, it's COI, Centers of Influence. DIY is do it yourself. COI means Centers of Influence. And I'm literally right now processing the magnitude of what that means, because I learned about centers of influence from another rock star, high-level coach client of mine, the goddess Ginny Barrow, who's been on the podcast before. She's amazing, right? executivebound.com, I believe, is her website. So you can go and check her out there. But Ginny teaching in her Fearless Leadership Challenge about centers of influence. I remember sitting in the Zoom room, on that room where she's teaching brilliantly about how to expand your value and how to move to the next level is tapping into centers of influence. Centers of influence. That COI identity I am receiving from her, right? That initiation and that awareness around centers of influence as a way to move more resource and to create more transformation than ever in a leveraged way, because you're finding who or what is at the center of knocking down the biggest domino, right? And I believe my coach Russell Brunson, when he's talking, when he was receiving coaching or witnessing a speech by Tim Ferriss, heard about Tim Ferriss's week, right? Someone asked him, like, well, what do you actually do? What's your daily life look like? And he's like, it's pretty boring, actually. Right? I wake up, I have tea, maybe meditate, read a book, and then I'll probably fall asleep again, maybe work out, go for a walk. And this will go on for weeks until I find the one thing that if I do it or if it gets done, everything else becomes irrelevant. I call it the one big domino. When you push that over, everything, and that's the only thing I focus on. And that's it. Otherwise, my life is actually, if you were to look at it, you'd think it was pretty boring. And that blew Russell's mind, and Russell, of course, shared it with us as he's our coach, and so that blew my mind of the big domino, the one thing. Like, if I'm to topple this one thing, right, and to really, to move that along, wow, so much more could get done. And so I'm combining this concept of the one thing or the big domino with the center of influence that I've received from my awesome client, Ginny. And now we have this really powerful leveraged concept that's not just an action, right, or an action item of like focus on the one thing, but on top of that now, it becomes an identity of the one person to talk to, or the one ask that if I ask that question to that person, kaboom, everything blows open, right? Or really moves forward at an accelerated rate. It's not just a task to get done, but it's also a personality or a being. And the more that I speak to you about this, the more in this extreme moment I'm becoming aware that I am a COI. I am a center of influence. Very much so. Like, this is, go gadget, delayed reaction, Victoria. Yeah, but I'm a center of influence. If I become aware, oh my goodness, in this very moment, what's going to happen when I become aware that I'm a center of influence and I actually start acting like one? Yeah. Not only will I become more aware of my own influence and power, all of the people that I am honored to serve and lead, right, and help, but also as I recognize the COI in me, that profound power and value in me, I'm also going to recognize it in people and in opportunities around me, right? If I am grieving the DIY identity, I am receiving the COI identity. And it's like a whole nother pair of glasses to put on. It's like a new and improved prescription. I wear glasses, by the way. I'm not a contact lenses queen. So I love glasses. Give me the funky, exciting glasses all day, all night. Yes, yes. Colors and weights and designs and sharp and smooth and all that. Anyway, so I love wearing glasses. I'm a glasses queen. So when I think about changing my prescription, it's also changing how I look, right? When I get a new pair of glasses, right? If you've seen me on Facebook, I actually, within the last month got a brand new pair of glasses. And like the way that my face is framed looks completely different. Like it brings out a whole nother level of personality, but also another level of perspective and insight, obviously, because, the strength of the prescription is a little bit different. But also there's this perception of myself that changes because maybe the color of the lens has changed, or the shape, or the size, or the thickness, right? The design changes how I am being perceived by myself and the world around me. And so it is the very same thing that is happening right now, transitioning from DIY as an identity, doing it yourself, right? The deriving power from like, yeah, I'm a do-it-yourself, I'm bootstrapped, I'm an entrepreneur, if it is to be, it's up to be. Anything my mind can conceive and believe it can achieve, thanks Napoleon Hill. Like that kind of transitioning from that mode into the COI mode, the center of influence of, wait a minute, if it is to be, it is, whatever it is so big that it can't just be up to me, because if it's up to me, it ain't gonna get done. I'm asleep. or I'm enjoying my life, getting my life, depositing these thousands of dollars into the banks. Like like if it is to be, it's not up to me. Who can I talk to? Who can I ask? Who can I bring into my circle of influence? Who is already in my circle of influence? Who can make this happen at a whole nother scale, right? Do I know how to influence? Do I have influence? Am I allowed to have influence? What does that even mean? Well, let's keep thinking about this, shall we? Well, before I proceed, I'm at the second bank, so hold on just a sec. I'll be right back. I'm going to... I have a separate bank for my personal stuff. So now I'm going to deposit thousands of dollars into my personal bank account. That is just for all of my own needs and my own pleasure, and taking care of me. So I hope you are receiving this energetic empowerment. Hold on just a moment. I'll be right back. Okay. All right. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, knowing that thousands of dollars have just been deposited into your personal bank account energetically as well. And I'm so happy to get to share that with you. So again, becoming a center of influence so that I can recognize other centers of influence. And the more that I speak through this with you, the more that I'm actually processing through this with you, the more that I'm realizing, that would explain why things have been accelerating lately. I'm like, what's going well? I wonder. Oh my gosh. So, well, for one, the way that I do podcast interviews has changed. I could take this from a very large, scale example and whittle it down to this very podcast itself. And that is, when I would bring people on to interview them here on the Journeypreneur Podcast, it was a one-way street of yay, I'm doing them a favor, and then I'm doing all the things, and yay, I get to share their story. But then that innovated. One of my spirit guides, they didn't tell me that, you're transitioning from DIY to COI, Victoria, and here's how you're going to do it. You're going to do this. No. I'm realizing this long after the fact. Right? The action started being taken, and then I had the realization. Did you hear that? Did you catch that? I took the action. And after I took the action, I realized, that's different. Right? So my spirit guide said, from now on, don't just do podcast interviews, always do interview trades. Just always do it. Just update the standard operating procedure, Victoria. Just start doing interview trades. And how I work is, okay, guides. Yeah. And then I go and do whatever they tell me to do. Yeah. No, of course, sometimes I'll be like, but, nah, that's one way or another. I know who the real CEO of my business is, and it's them, it's not me. Right? And so, I follow whatever executive orders are coming down, and with that was, from now on, just start doing interview trades. If someone wants to come on the podcast, it's, interview for interview, always. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm like, I hear a lot more people talking about, they saw me on a pod, or they heard my podcast, I'm like, Gosh, that's helpful. I wonder why that's happening. Well, tapping into centers of influence. Yeah. It's just one example of how it can start working. And from that, then, people started seeing me, the people that I'm talking to, whether I'm talking to them on Clubhouse or on Facebook, wherever, now I'm talking to people on TikTok, right, wherever I'm having conversations with entrepreneurs, I have more people coming back to me and giving me the recognition as someone who, like, I think of Brianna the other day on Clubhouse saying, like, I would introduce you as a business genius. Like, you're someone who is, like, you are incredible. You are a creative genius. You are so innovative, and you know everybody, right? Or whenever someone needs help, they come and ask me, like, hey, Victoria, do you know someone who does blah, blah, blah? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes. And even in a global sense, which is really crazy. Now, I just thought this was me being helpful. I didn't see it as influence. And I didn't see myself as a center of influence. But the more that I'm recognizing that now in this extreme moment, the more that I am recognizing, wait a minute, I'm surrounded by many centers of influences. And I'm excited about that. And this is connecting the dots. Maybe this podcast is just going to be about me connecting the dots in this moment. And I hope as I have this realization, you have it too, that you have influence as well. But as I'm realizing this, if I just ask more people for what I need, or to help me find people who can help me find what I need, wow, more will get done faster. And in fact, my team is always telling me, you can ask us for more. You can ask us for more, and when I do, more gets done. That's amazing, and I didn't do it. Wow, I'm a center of influence. And on top of that, I've been asking my team members, like, well, what do you think? Or what would be your idea? And I receive their insight. Now, my team are not my spirit guides. My team are, like, human people that are in physical reality all over the world, right? Working from home, working from wherever they are, So I take what they offer me, right, their insights and expertise, and I'll filter it through my spirit guides so that I can make an aligned decision and take aligned action. That is how I always do things. But I've been getting better and better at leveraging the wisdom and resources that have been gathered around me. And I would encourage you to do the same. So with that, I think this is a lovely point to bring this podcast episode to a close, especially because my cell phone's like, girl, I'm at 2%, I'm going to die. Okay. So with that, if this is your first time coming to the Journeypreneur Podcast, hi, thanks for stopping by. Don't be a stranger. Make sure you hit subscribe on iTunes so that you get the notifications first every time a new episode is syndicated on iTunes. For my Android users, hop on over to Podbean. Journeypreneur.podbean.com is where you can subscribe when new episodes are syndicated there. And, oh my goodness, this is episode 159. If you're on iTunes, please make sure that you leave me a 5-star review and let me know what stood out to you, because that's where the comment section is. That helps me know what's the topics that you're interested in, and also helps me reach more people just like you, conscious entrepreneurs doing good things in the world. With that, let's tie this podcast episode up the same way that we do every time. Please remember to enjoy the journey. Do not lose your glow as you grow in life and business. And we'll see you in the next podcast episode. Bye for now.